Good evening. The board now reconvenes this meeting of the Plano ISD Board of Trustees in open session at 7:11 p.m. on May 7, 2018 at the Plano ISD Administration Building. My name is Missy Bender, and I'm president of the Plano ISD Board of Trustees. On the board's behalf, I wish to extend a warm welcome to all who are present and to our web and video viewers. We will conduct our meeting focusing on the district's two major goals: ensure the continued improvement in student learning and ensure the efficient use of resources. Let me introduce my fellow trustees and staff. Seated to my left are Sarah Bonzer, Superintendent of Schools, Nancy Humphrey, Board Secretary, Trustee Tammy Richards, and Trustee Jerry Chambers. Seated to my right are Board Vice President David Stolley, Trustee Dr. Yoram Solomon, Trustee Angela Powell, and Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees Denise Gillespie. Trustee Jerry Chambers this evening will offer our inspirational message. Ms. Chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. A couple of weeks ago, I had the wonderful opportunity to attend a Guru Vandana. It is a Hindu tradition to honor teachers. And with this being the beginning of Teacher Appreciation Week, I thought it was important to glean some of the things I learned from that. First of all, in Sanskrit, Guru means a remover of darkness. A twist to that, we want to be a little more positive, is that a provider of light, providing illumination to students. Yes, our teachers do facilitate learning, but I wonder how much the original Sanskrit definition is also very meaningful. Our teachers remove the darkness for our students. Our students come with hunger, and homelessness, and family challenges. They come with learning challenges, and our teachers provide that safe haven for our students. So, this week is a Teacher Appreciation Week. Yes, let's thank our teachers. Thank them for teaching. I also challenge all of us to think about the teachers you know and have known who also serve as removers of the darkness in your life. Carl Jung said, "One looks back with appreciation to the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touch our human feelings." The curriculum is so much necessary. It's so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for the growing plant and for the soul of the child. So as we think about that this week, let's think about our teachers. I also have to say that I have several former colleagues that I am eyeballing out in the audience, and so it's really fun to have walked a great path with you all. So thank you especially for your teaching. I also want to recognize we had a longtime PISD employee and administrator, Diane York, passed away this past week. And so I want to make sure that we take a moment to say a blessing of thanksgiving for her service and well wishes to her family.
Thank you, Ms. Chambers. The board welcomes our student greeters for this evening. Tonight we have with us award-winning speech and debate teams from Plano, Plano East, and Plano West Senior Highs, and Clark and Jasper High Schools. Would the team representatives please come to the front of the room and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? At the same time, will everyone else please stand for the pledge? It's right behind you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Students, we thank you for being here tonight, and you may be seated with your group, and we will also be recognizing you a little later in the meeting. In 2017, the Texas Legislature passed Senate Bill 1566, changing Texas Education Code Section 11.159. Under prior law, boards announced continuing education credit hours at the end of the calendar year. Under the new law, the time of credit reporting depends on when a district holds trustee elections, mandating that announcements be made at the last regular board meeting before trustee elections. We last announced board training credit in December 2017, but during this transition year, the Texas Association of School Boards suggests board continuing education credit to be announced at the regular board meeting in May. Let the record reflect that all sitting trustees have exceeded the required continuing education hours to date. Thank you to our audience for allowing me to share this required statement. We will now move to the recognition part of our agenda. Beginning with students and special guests. Carla Oliver, Assistant Superintendent for Government, Community, and Planning Initiatives, is made aware of student guests prior to the meeting. Ms. Oliver.
Thank you, President Bender. I just was looking over my shoulder to confirm we do not have students right now for recognition.
All right, thank you very much. Now the next recognition is a special recognition by TI Foundation Innovations in STEM Teaching Awards. Our next item is the recognition of finalists and winners of the 2018 Texas Instruments Foundation Innovation in STEM Teaching Awards. And I am pleased to invite Dr. Katrina Hasley to introduce this special recognition.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. For over 11 years, our staff has been honored to work with the Texas Instruments Foundation and the Plano ISD Education Foundation to recognize outstanding Plano ISD teachers of secondary science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The Innovations in STEM Teaching Awards are made possible through the generosity of the Texas Instruments Foundation. To begin our award presentation, I invite to the podium Executive Director of Texas Instruments Foundation, Andy Smith, along with David Hitt, Director of Career and Technology Education.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Hasley, for introduction, and thank you, Board, and Plano ISD Education Foundation for being here. It's always the highlight of my year to get to come to these events and recognize the outstanding teachers. You spoke earlier about teachers that shine light on things, and I think about those teachers who had an impact on me and the impact that these finalists and these winners are having in the classroom day in and day out. And I just want to say thank you. You make such a difference in the lives of your students. I don't know where I'd be if I wouldn't have had those teachers who inspired me. To those students in speech and debate, keep at it. I did that too, and it's a skill that will take you far in life. But our top philanthropic priority at the TI Foundation has been and still is education, specifically science, technology, engineering, and math education, or STEM. And when looking at how we can have a really impactful investment, teachers is where our board has chosen to focus. Because if you think about a teacher and the number of students that she or he will touch over their career, that's the best ROI you can get, a qualified, excellent math or science teacher. So 12 years ago, the TI Foundation created the TI Foundation Innovation in STEM Teaching Award. Since the program was started, $1.8 million has been awarded to teachers in 6 local school districts, and we've recognized 27 teachers from Plano ISD, including these outstanding nominees tonight. I just want to say a special word of thanks as well to Kristen Alexander and the Plano ISD Education Foundation for all the work that y'all do year in and year out on the nomination process. I know the selection is not easy. I would not want to do it, but you always have great finalists and winners. So I'll now hand it over to David Hitt with Plano ISD.
Thanks, Ann. Good evening, President Bender, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Ponzer. I will now announce our 3 finalists and then our 3 winners for the 2018 Texas Instruments Foundation Innovations in STEM Teaching Award. As I announce your name, I invite you to come forward to be recognized. Our first finalist is Doris Kotwitz from Plano East. While in Doris' classroom, we observe her teaching Think Aloud techniques to her highly advanced Calculus BC students. Her instruction shows students that knowing the correct processes is not enough. Making sense of the problem and their calculations is about reflective practices. According to Doris' principal, George King, Doris may be the most beloved teacher at Plano East. She is revered and loved. She inspires students and colleagues. This administrator is wowed by her every day. Doris, congratulations. Our next finalist is Francisco Flores from Wilson Middle School. In Mr. Flores' class, we saw students engage in work that is highly marketable in today's industry. The knowledge his students have of how to use image editing software will continue to serve them and serve our business partners in the future. According to Francisco's principal, Celinda Sager, Francisco is highly regarded by staff for his expertise, curiosity, and desire for exploration when technology questions and needs arise. He values incorporation of technology into his lessons to captivate and engage students. Congratulations. And our final finalist is Kelly Wansmos from Plano West. We were so amazed to see Kelly's students interact with each other in business simulations that were truly authentic. Her students are both self-sufficient, collaborative, and deeply engaged. According to Kelly's principal, Kathy King, Kelly is the teacher and administrator hopes to have on staff. Intelligent, dependable, energetic, student-centered, innovative, and committed to the success of her students. Congratulations. And now it's time to introduce you the three 2018 Texas Instruments Foundation's Innovations in STEM Teaching Award winners. Again, each winner will receive $10,000 in cash and awards. Winners will receive $5,000 personal cash award and a $5,000 award for their school to go towards classroom technology or professional development opportunities. Our first winner is Margarita Covani from Rice Middle School. In Mrs. Covani's class, sixth graders move in and out of technology-based assignments seamlessly, showing us that technology is not a classroom event, but an expected and manageable model of instruction. According to Margarita's principal, Chris Glasscock, Margarita quickly became a favorite sub of the teachers at Frankfurt, especially in the math department. She taught sixth grade honors and on-level math during her first year at Rice, and she showed them she had the ability to bring math to life for her students. She's not only a teacher at Rice, she is a leader and positive role model for everyone. Congratulations. Our next winner is Marianne Cowley from Otto Middle School. True inquiry methods and problem solving are at the heart of Mrs. Cowley's classroom. Her students work together to address the problem at hand and access technology as needed. We were able to see students who moved beyond teacher-directed technology use and identified for themselves when and how technology would support their learning goals. Congratulations. Oh, sorry. Next part. According to Marianne's principal, Antone Spencer, Marianne is an innovative math and science teacher who promotes critical thinking in a fun and supportive environment for her students. Students are uniquely drawn to her personality and sense of humor as she instinctively forges strong relationships. She is passionate about her endeavors and works selflessly to ensure the success of every student. Congratulations, Marianne. And our final winner is Myrna Ayubi from Jasper High School. The energy in Mrs. Ayubi's classroom comes from the frequent transitions students make between face-to-face discussions, individual device use, and whole class technology applications. Content is streamed and mirrored from the teachers' and students' devices, and the software used in class serves to create personal learning experiences for each student. According to Myrna's principal, Matt Inslee, the way Myrna seamlessly utilizes technology in her classroom is unlike anything I have ever witnessed. Her teaching is an art form that is unique and mesmerizing to watch. Her leadership and guidance with our staff has changed the culture at Jasper High School. Congratulations, Myrna. Let's give a final big round of applause to all of these amazing Plano ISD teachers. Thank you to Andy Smith of the Texas Instruments Foundation, Kristen Alexander of the Plano ISD Education Foundation, the Plano ISD Board of Trustees, and all of the amazing teachers, students, and staff of Plano ISD. Honorees, if you will wait until all of the other recognitions are done, then we'll all move out to the lobby for photos. Thank you.
We're going to take a moment to share a few comments, and we're going to start with Superintendent Bonser.
Thank you, President Bender. First of all, teachers, congratulations. What an honor to have you with us this evening. And you know, the importance of STEM to our students and their futures is enormous, and we recognize that. And so for your initiative and for being innovative yourself, we thank you for that. Mr. Smith and Texas Instruments, thank you so much for your longstanding commitment to Plano ISD. We know that you have stayed true to the support of our teachers in our district for a very long time, and we recognize and appreciate that. So thank you so much for investing in our district and our teachers. Teachers, again, I know it's a very busy week for you. It's Teacher Appreciation Week and STAR testing, so you know you like to double those up in a week. But thank you so much for giving up your time this evening to be with us. And principals, you know, I know that you're so proud to have these teachers on your staff, and so thanks for hiring the best and keeping them in Plano. Thanks so much.
Yes. Board members, do you have any comments you want to share?
I will. You know, I have two daughters that one of them went through PISD schools, one of them is still in Plano West. And whenever I ask them, why do you like one class over the other? It was the teacher. It's always the teacher. It's, you know, they say people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. There must be a reason why you do that, because your kids, your students, they get it. Thank you.
I'll just add, teachers make every difference for students, every difference. You not only are leading them through the learning journey, but you're modeling the kind of behavior that we want other teachers to emulate. So it was so awesome to see the joy on the faces of the people who are in the room and here supporting you and believing the same thing. So thank you for being an awesome teacher in Plano ISD. Thank you, TI, for recognizing them, the foundation, and our other staff for facilitating that. Keep rocking. Great job. Now we get to turn our attention to recognize some students. So on the PowerPoint in just a minute, you're going to see some of the students that we're recognizing. In addition to all of the speech and debate students we have recognized so far this evening during our Pledge of Allegiance, the board is proud to recognize many more students who have recently achieved at state, national, and international levels. See above us the scrolling PowerPoint of student names. We are honoring 15 seniors who won National Merit Corporate Sponsored Scholarships, 2 Math Counts teams that placed at the state competition, and 1 Rice Middle School student who will advance to the national competition. In Career and Technical Education, Skills USA had state-level winners in culinary arts, audio, visual, and fashion design. And in science, 10 students with 6 projects were named finalists in the Genius, Olympiad, and International competition. Please join me in applauding these accomplishments of these students. Would the student representatives from the speech and debate teams please come to the front of the room along with the coordinator of speech and theater, Greg Arp. Mr. Arp is here to introduce these talented teams from Jasper High School and Plano, Plano East, my alma mater, and Plano West Senior Highs to assist the board in honoring their accomplishments. Board Vice President David Stolley will be presenting the team certificates. Mr. Arp, please.
Thank you for allowing the Speech and Debate Department to be publicly recognized for the incredible accomplishments of our students in the National Speech and Debate Association National Tournament qualifying rounds from Plano ISD. The National Speech and Debate Tournament has been held across the country since 1931 and today is the largest academic competition in the world. Each year, students compete in a week-long competition to determine the most prestigious title in high school academics, National Champion. The National Speech and Debate Association was created in 1925 to provide recognition and support for students participating in speech and debate activities. While the organization has evolved over the decades, the mission is more relevant today than ever before. We connect, support, and inspire a diverse community committed to empowering students through competitive speech and debate. Every year, more than 7,000 students, coaches, teachers, parents, and supporters from across the country attend the national tournament. The student competitors represent the best and brightest young people across the United States and the globe. Plano ISD will be participating in the annual national tournament, June 17th through the 22nd in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, with 42 participants in 52 event qualifications. Although not all participants could be here tonight, we would like to recognize the following representatives from their teams. If you will please stand and remain standing until all names are called. From Jasper High School, coached by Tom McCaffrey and Clarissa Moreno. Stand up, Tom. Benjamin I, Congressional Debate and Senate. Sahir Lakhani, World Schools Debate. Pranav Patathanuvian, I tried real hard. Patathanuval, sorry, I practiced, I promise. U.S. Extemporaneous Speaking, Avanish Radeh, Congressional Debate House. Faiza Rahman, Congressional Debate Senate. Angela Wang, International Extemporaneous Speaking. Brandon Wang, World Schools Debate. From Clark High School, coached by Cheryl Potts, Steph Cambra, and Neil White. Come on, Steph. There she is. Claire Eaton, Informative Speaking, Expository, and Storytelling. Vivian Sao, International Extemporaneous Speaking. Rohan Chaya, World Schools Debate. Leela Knapp, World Schools Debate. From Plano West Senior High School, coached by Rhonda Smith and Katie Lito. Gunjan Bhattacharya, Congressional Debate House. Shiva Kandala, World Schools Debate. Jerry Yang, Public Forum Debate. Jason Zhang, Public Forum Debate. Artit Taichami Kachai, Public Forum Debate. Usair Alpial, International Extemporaneous Speaking. Ashwin Desai, United States Extemporaneous Speaking. And from Plano Senior High, also coached by Cheryl Potts, Steph Cambra, and Neil White, Jesse Yu, Duo Interp, Prose Interpretation and Storytelling. Ray Cooper, Original Oratory, Prose Interpretation and Storytelling. Nick Teachner, Congressional Debate Senate. Nick Sanctus, Congressional Debate House. Savni Desai, Congressional Debate Senate. The Speech and Debate Department would like to publicly thank Plano ISD and the board for supporting speech and debate competition. These students have a passion for communicating, learning, competing, and performing, and it's because of your continued support that we get to see them flourish in national competition. Please congratulate and wish these students well as they travel to Fort Lauderdale, Florida to represent Plano ISD.
So on behalf of the board, we do have some certificates for the teams. So I'll give these to our representatives. They'll represent Clark. Congratulations. Jasper? Your name? Brandon. Thank you. Plano West. Congratulations.
Mr. Arp and students participating in speech and debate, thanks so much for being here this evening. As an old speech and debater myself from a long time ago, I know personally the commitment of time and preparation that it takes to engage in these competitions, and so my hat's off to you, to all of you, and congratulations on your accomplishment, and best of luck as you take your next step forward in representing Plano ISD at the national level. Thanks so much.
Congratulations. We're very proud of all of you, and I think you guys have won the award for most student representation at a board meeting from a single group. So congratulations and good luck to you. All of you who were recognized, we have one more recognition, and then you can all depart at your convenience. I know that this is a very busy time of year for all of you. We have one more special recognition that is very personal to the board. It is the board's pleasure to recognize Denise Gillespie, the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees. Ms. Gillespie is retiring after 20 years of service to Plano ISD. And Board Secretary Nancy Humphrey will read a resolution recognizing her service to the board and the district, and Vice President David Stolley will make the presentation. So, Denise, to be fair, we're recognizing you. So, do we want to do it down there, or do we want to do it right? All right, we'll do it right here.
Do you want me to read the record?
I want you to read it, please.
Okay, I'll read the resolution first. It gives me great pleasure to do this. The resolution reads, whereas over a 20-year career with the Plano Independent School District, Ms. Denise Gillespie distinguished herself with deep knowledge and abilities related to the Board of Trustees and the district during her tenure as Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Board of Trustees. And whereas the members of the Plano Independent School District Board of Trustees wish to thank Ms. Gillespie on the occasion of her retirement for many contributions to the board and to the district by acknowledging her outstanding services and dedication as a valued member of the Plano Independent School District family. And whereas the board holds in the highest regard Ms. Gillespie's administrative support to the trustees, the superintendent, and the cabinet, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees expresses sincere gratitude to Ms. Gillespie for her judgment, acumen, and grace in all matters pertaining to the Board of Trustees and for her contribution to the overall well-being of the Plano Independent School District. Be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees wishes Ms. Gillespie continued success in all future endeavors and expresses hope for continued prosperity. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Gillespie as a token of appreciation and respect. Signed May 7th, 2018, Missy Bender, President of the Board of Trustees, Nancy Humphrey, Secretary of the Board of Trustees.
So we're going to take a moment. The board's going to make a few comments, and then we want to get another picture with all of us, okay? Who would like to kick this off?
I'll say it. Denise, I've only been here on the board for 1 year, but I have to say you have spent 2 decades working for this district. Thank you for sharing and giving your talent to the administration and to the board.
I'll speak. Denise, even shorter period of time, but I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your support, your encouragement, your wisdom, and it's been a pleasure. I'm so sorry it could be longer.
Denise, not many people really understand the life of a board member, but you do, and you've taken such extraordinary care of us, both professionally and personally. I think, as Nancy said in the proclamation, grace. I think that typifies you. You're like the glorious swan floating along, no one realizing how furiously you're paddling underneath. So thank you so much.
That's such a great visual. I like that. Well, Denise, you're efficient, you're professional, you know everything, and you can handle anything. And
I just want to say thank you for all of the support you've given us and the friendship and the feeling that we are a family, and that's wonderful. And it's all good.
You know, right before I ran the first time in 2013, I started attending board meetings. And I kind of tried to get a sense of what everybody is doing. And the only one person I did not understand what she was doing was you. Because you were sitting there being quiet and you never said a word. And there's a phrase that still waters run deep. And that phrase is really that this is the right place for it. What people don't know is that you make this place run. We will never find someone like you. I knew that there was one person that I could rely on 100% on anything that I needed, and way more than probably I deserved. We will miss you. Thank you for everything.
So I don't think a lot of people really know, outside of this building what Denise does. And so to put it in a nutshell, I think Tammy said it really well, that she takes care of us, which is easy for, perhaps 7 responsible board members, but for one slightly irresponsible, maybe perpetually late man-child board member who needs somebody to tell him where to be and when to be and how to be, I have really appreciated the way that you do take care of us. And this is not going to be the same place without you. I don't know if I'll ever show up on time again for anything, but you will be truly missed.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed my time serving the board. I appreciate your kindness and your friendship while we've all worked very hard together for all students at Plano ISD. Thank you.
Well, I get to have the last word. Denise and I have been together for a long, long time, and she has walked this path with me and lifted me up and supported me personally and professionally, and all she wants to do is serve. She doesn't like the attention that I'm giving her right now, I'm sure, but it is important for us to let you know, and we want others to know about you, that you are so efficient, you are so detail-oriented to make us look good. And you've taken such great care of this district. I know you love it. I know you love us. And you've made me a better president, a better board member. And I call Denise my other mother. And you have big size 5 shoes to fill.
Thank you.
So, and I want to thank your husband, Tom, who's in the back of the room, for sharing Denise with us. There are many times she's been up here on the weekends with me, or she runs up here on the weekends to make changes to the posting that can only be done here, and she leaves and spends so much time, so much extra time taking care of district business. We're so grateful, and we wish you the very best in the next chapter.
Thank you very
Congratulations. Okay, you're free to go. Have pictures. And I want to do, while they're doing that, I want to get a picture with Denise too. So how do you want to do that?
We'll be here. They won't.
All right, we'll do the picture with Denise later. Is that okay? All right. So come over here. Where do we want to, how do you want to do this? We're going to get with you. Oh, badge off. Oh, thank you. Take your badge off. Badge off, everybody. Are you in? we are now to item 7 on the agenda, which is organization of the board. And we have some organizational business to conduct. At this time, I now call on Denise Gillespie.
I now turn the election of officers for the Plano ISD Board of Trustees to Superintendent Sarah Bonzer, who will preside over the election of the office of president.
Thank you, Ms. Gillespie. According to board policies BDAA legal and local and board operating procedures, it is stated that the board shall elect a president, a vice president, and a secretary. As stated in policy, during non-election years, the organizational meeting for the election of board officers shall take place at the first regular meeting in May. Board officers shall serve for a term of 1 year, beginning at the first regularly scheduled board meeting following June graduation. I was duly notified by each member of the board wishing to serve as an officer. Any board member seeking to be elected as an officer needed to have informed me by 6 p.m. on the Friday before the scheduled meeting this evening for the election of officers. The nomination process for board officers formally closed on Friday, May 4th, 2018 at 6 p.m. I now call for a motion for the nomination for the office of president.
I move that Missy Bender be nominated board president.
Do I have a second for that?
I second.
The nominee for president is Missy Bender. All those in favor of Missy Bender for president of the Plano ISD Board of Trustees, please raise your right hand. All in favor? I declare Missy Bender as president. I now defer the elections for vice president and secretary to President Bender per policies BDAA legal and local and board operating procedures for the election of officers.
Does it say right hand?
Yes. Right.
Thank you for your continued support. And I now call for a motion for the nomination to be considered by the trustees for vice president.
I move that we nominate Yoram Sodelman for vice president of the board.
Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor, please raise any hand. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I now call for a motion for the nomination to be considered by the trustees for the position of secretary.
I move that Nancy Humphrey be nominated for the position of board secretary.
And do I have a second?
I second that nomination.
All in favor of Nancy Humphrey for secretary, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, which is the designation of signatories. Typically, the board authorizes the president and secretary of the board to be the official signatories of the district, with the vice president being authorized as the alternate signature. Additionally, the board will designate the superintendent or deputy superintendent, chief operating officer, as the board designates to sign off on legal documents. The board will also authorize chief financial officer or executive director of financial services as the designees to certify federal fiscal reports requesting payments, and the board will authorize the district to continue to use the present check signing plate until a new one can be secured following the election of officers. Checks are signed by the president and secretary of the board. So now I will individually run through motion considerations for each of those items that I've mentioned. Do I have a motion to authorize the president and secretary of the board to be the official signatories of the district?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to designate the superintendent or deputy superintendent, chief operating officer as the board designees to sign off on legal documents?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to authorize the assistant superintendent for business services or the executive director of financial services as the designees to certify federal fiscal reports requesting payments?
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to authorize the district to continue to use the present check signing plate until a new one can be secured following the election of officers?
So moved.
Do I have a
Second.
second? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. That business is now complete. At this time of the year, we look forward to the next year and determine dates and times for our regular monthly meetings. We have in your board packet, regular monthly meeting schedule presented. Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
All in favor? I'm sorry, do I have a second? Second, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes, thank you. All right, well, now we will consider the appointments of school attorney, medical officer, advisors, auditors, and demographer. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of school attorney?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of medical officer?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. And do I have a motion to approve the appointment of advisors?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, please raise your hand. And do I have, motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of auditors?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the appointment of demographer?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. All right, now we have all of that annual business concluded. Thank you very much. We will now move to the regular public comment portion of our agenda. For the public comment portion of our agenda, the board has public comment cards that are accepted from 6 to 7 p.m. Cards are not accepted after 7 p.m. and are not transferable to other parties or speakers. All cards were collected and given to Carla Oliver or a representative of the Communications Department who will present the speakers during this time. Do we have any speakers for public comment?
We do, President Bender. We have 5 cards, all relating to the same topic, it appears, and they are non-agenda related.
Can you determine whether those speakers are students or adults or a mixture thereof?
Not by the cards themselves.
Board members, given the time of year that we're in and reflecting on, some previous experience where we've had student speakers, if we can determine that we have any student speakers, would it be the will of the board to go ahead and entertain, give them the ability to speak now, early in the meeting?
I'm fine with moving it forward. Yes.
Okay, so can we ascertain the status of student speakers, please?
Certainly. I'm going to assume that they are students, and if they are not, please let me know after I call your name. The first speaker, I'm sorry.
Before you do that, I do have some language to read.
Oh, of course.
So it's like direction setting, so let me lay that out.
Of course.
It'll take me a minute. And then when she calls your name, if you're a student, please come forward. If you're not a student, please let us hear you at the end. That's our normal practice. Pursuant to board policies BED legal, BED local, and BED exhibit, the board may place reasonable restraints on the number, length, and frequency of presentations, so long as it does not unfairly discriminate among speakers based upon their viewpoint. The board is not authorized to discuss or act upon the public's comments or complaints if the subject is not on the agenda. If a member of the public or the board inquires about a subject for which notice has not been given, the board may only make a statement of specific factual information, recite existing policy in response to the inquiry, or refer the person to a staff member for more information or assistance. If the subject of the public comment is already on the agenda for the meeting, the board may invite the speaker to stay until the board reaches that topic on the agenda. 30 minutes have been allotted to hear persons who desire to make comments to the board. Persons who wish to participate in this portion of the meeting shall complete the appropriate public comment form before the meeting begins and indicate the topic about which they wish to speak. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. If you are not finished speaking by the end of your 3 minutes, I will interrupt you so that we can move to the next person. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views before the board. Finally, pursuant to Texas Government Code sections 551.074 and 551.0821, the board will not permit the presentation of personally identifiable information regarding a student and will not discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. Should a speaker wish to address one of these issues, they must do so through the appropriate local grievance policies, F&G local, DGVA local, or GF local. Having said all of that, you're going to have 3 minutes. Board Secretary Nancy Humphrey will tell you when you have 1 minute left. When you have exhausted your total 3 minutes, please conclude your remarks. Ms. Ault.
I will say, so many of our students are so efficient that it could be that some of them who have filled out cards may be having their photo taken in the lobby.
Okay.
So if that's the case, then maybe we can let them speak at the end of the meeting as well. So we'll just go forward,
Okay,
if
that's
you
going to
agree.
be a long time.
I understand.
Do we
don't
wanna-
know.
Okay, let's see who's here.
Right.
And then maybe we could step out and ascertain the availability.
I've requested that. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
So first, I would call on Zachary Desai.
He's a student. He was
Okay.
Well, I heard his name earlier.
Next, I would call Harrison Chu.
Okay, students are walking back in. Okay.
Gunjan Badarai.
Yes, we have, I know you were out of the room, but to be respectful of your time, I know it's busy at the end of the year. Normally, we would hear the non-agenda speakers at the end, but the board has elected to move that section up for students. So we're calling student names now.
Okay, so for the other people who want to speak, if they're coming a bit later, so is that time for them? They're planning to come around roughly around 8:30-ish, because they're coming later. I just hear though.
That's okay. If
So-
they're here when I call them.
Did they fill out their card
Yeah,
themselves?
they did.
Okay.
Okay, and then they'll come back. Okay.
Okay. Who's gonna do the time signals?
The time signals?
Have you already said his name? Or
Yes.
called his name? Okay. I'll be keeping time, and when you have 1 minute remaining, I will say 1 minute, and then you still have another minute, 1/3 of your time, and then when it is totally gone, you'll hear a beep. Okay?
So this would be my 3rd time speaking here. I've been incredibly blessed to be able to speak to the board all this time. It's been a wonderful experience. So 2 weeks ago, we had a presentation toward the board that discussed Plano IC's new 2-tiered plan in order to try and change the rank system. I'd like to say that I'd actually like it more than my original proposal from my very petition. It's just that there's a couple of changes that I'm thinking might be helpful. For one, we have like a top 10% line for GPA, which I think is very necessary for ourselves toward automatic admission. But if possible, I think we should try going toward another automatic admission line in which we know what minimum GPA you would need for like the University of Texas. Because for like many students in Plano West, Plano Senior, Plano East, their dream school is to like go to UT. And UT has like amazing programs in a lot of subjects like engineering, business, and so forth. So for many students, they want to have the security of knowing what they need in order to be automatically admitted to UT. But at the same time, what I think this proposal will be very useful for is also helping those who don't necessarily excel in the rank system within Plano ISD to do well. So at like the very top schools in which a lot of people focused upon, including partially my petition, you don't necessarily need a high rank in order to get in. Like, I have a friend who made it to Northwestern with rank 112 from Plano West, and he got $30,000 in merit aid. And that's to a top 10 private school. But in terms of like schools where most Plano students go to, Texas schools, like UT or A&M, those care far more about rank, mainly because it's embedded within their system. But for Plano ISD students, what we're finding is the fact that their intelligence is much higher than what their rank would suggest. So Plano ISD students are effectively losing out and not being seen as smart as they really are, mainly because their ranks don't show it. At Plano West, we have 77 national merit finalists, which means that we have, 5% of the entire school placed above what's roughly a 1560 in the SAT. We don't have that in terms of any other school in Texas. But at the same time, top 5% in all these schools look roughly the same. And while Plano West has, and Plano IC in general, have a very good reputation, I think we could use this to a greater advantage if we get rid of rank and allow for many of the students who don't necessarily have a high rank, don't play the game and try taking as many AP classes as possible, don't like cheat or do anything in which they try to maximize their GPA in any other situation. We can try to create a greater pipeline for them to get into the schools that they want. Because these programs are amazing. Like A&M and UT tend to be very underrated schools, but they're able to get our students into great places, like whether it be a Houston investment banking, or maybe petroleum engineering, or maybe even becoming a significant political leader. These schools have promise. The problem is we just need to make sure that we're able to get them there. Like in previous speeches, I've talked about how the culture within Plano ISD hasn't been very good because of the rank system and so forth, but I think it's time we focus specifically on the educational outcomes that our students get as a result. Like later on, you'll hear from a student who moved here from Hong Kong, but found a lot of troubles as a result of the rank system, and therefore found his troubles significantly hampered and his ability to get into some of these schools in Texas completely hindered because of the rank system. And there's many examples like this. If we want to ensure that our students are able to have a beneficial learning environment and have an environment such that they're able to get to the college of their dreams, getting rid of the rank system will be the most important step in order to get there. So when it comes to June 15th, when you make the final vote, I hope that you'll vote yes, so that you can allow for students to have a better learning environment and so that they can have the better opportunity to get into many of their dream schools within Texas. Because not only are those schools quite cheap for the value that they give you, but they're also able to give great promise to their students, and I think that's what we need to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Got it? As I understand it, the other students who filled their cards out, as you heard earlier, have left.
Okay.
And so if they come back, then
Okay.
they would be at the end of the meeting.
All right, thank you. We will now address the consent agenda, which includes personnel recommendations, minutes of previous meetings, bids, purchases, and construction items. Are there any requests to remove an item or items from the consent agenda for further discussion?
Nope.
Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Can't talk. And do we have a second? Second. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes. With the approval of the consent agenda, I would like to invite Susan Modisette, Assistant Superintendent for Campus Services, to introduce the administrative appointments. After the administrative appointment introductions have been completed, the administrative appointees and their families will gather in the lobby for photos. Ms. Modisette.
Thank you, President Bender. I would like to start out this evening introducing the new associate principal at Plano Senior High. Andy Jacobs is going to be taking over that role. He is moving up from his current position as an assistant superintendent. I'm sorry. Would you like to come up here, Andy? As an assistant principal at Plano Senior High. For those of you that have been on the board previously, you may recognize Andy and his precious family who have been with us several other times as Andy has been appointed to administrative positions. He's joined tonight by his wife Maddie and his 3 children, Benjamin, Rebecca, and Beth Ann. And if you all would stand and be recognized, please. Also, like to recognize this evening a new assistant principal at Jasper High School, and I'd like to introduce Andrea Hendrickson. Andrea is currently a teacher at Plano West and is a graduate of our first Leadership Development Academy of aspiring administrators. So we are thrilled that Jasper has picked such an outstanding leader. Andrea is joined this evening by her husband, Brian, and their 2 children, Noah and Emily. Would you please stand?
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you in your new administrative appointments, and I know that the administrative cabinet and myself wish you all the best in your new roles, and you know that we're here to support you. We're all on the same team, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to work more closely with you in your new roles. So, welcome. It's great.
Congratulations. And kids, you were model attendees at a board meeting. Congratulations. All right, we have concluded our consent agenda and new administrative appointments, so feel free to have your pictures taken, and we will now move to item 10, items for discussion and action. Item A is the first item relates to an appropriate action on the level 4 appeal filed by Mr. Thomas Ferreira that was heard in closed session prior to the business meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move that the board deny the level 4 appeal.
And do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Now we move to item B, and Dr. Beth Brockman will introduce any discussion of the recommendation to send notice of proposed termination to some term contract employees.
I
Dr.
need
Brockman.
to pull, please, administratively, item B and item D from that list,
Okay,
leaving item C.
all right, so would you like to introduce item C?
Yes, respectfully request approval of the recommendation of the superintendent as presented to send notice of proposed termination for good cause, expiration of temporary disability leave of a term contract employee.
Do I have a motion to approve the termination as presented?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so that concludes all of that business. We will now turn our attention to reports. These are update status reports, and the first one that we will hear is from the School Health Advisory Council. And Dr. Katrina Hasley will introduce this report.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. Trustees, as you know, school boards across the state are required to establish a School Health Advisory Council, known as SHAC, as prescribed in Texas Education Code. This group helps to ensure the community's values are reflected in the district's health education program. Brian McCord, our physical education and health coordinator, does a tremendous job of facilitating the work of this committee. And I invite Brian now to come and lead a report of the SHAC's work this year and the recommended goals for next year. I'm sure he'll want to recognize this committee and a special guest he has with us tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. Good evening, President Bender, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Bonser, and Cabinet members. This is one of those times that I wish I would have paid a little more attention during speech class, but we're all good. Yes, I'd like to start off with a couple of thank yous, recognitions. First of all, to our group this year of parents, community members, teachers, other district employees that were extremely passionate about the work we did this year and showing up almost monthly and just for the work that they did. Then also a special guest that we have this evening, Dr. Jennifer Hughes. Dr. Jennifer Hughes is of UT Southwestern. She serves as the head of Risk and Resilience Network in the UT Southwestern Center of Depression Research and Clinical Care. Dr. Hughes has played an extensive role in educating and providing research over self-harm, suicide, mental health issues to the SHAC over the past 2 years. Dr. Hughes is also who we partnered with to bring the Youth Aware of Mental Health, the YAM program, to our health classes. So thank you, Dr. Hughes. The School Health Advisory Council assists the district in ensuring that local community values are reflected in health education instruction. Additionally, SHACs play an important role in strengthening the connection between health and learning. This year we focused on 3 areas during our meetings. The first was creating a wellness plan, which goes with our wellness policy that we adopted last year. We reviewed a health supplemental curricular program, Aim for Success, and then we worked on our 2 board advisory goals. Our first goal was to research the issue of self-injury as it relates to the wellness and safety of our students. In order to do this, Dr. Jennifer Hughes came and presented to the group and also provided multiple research articles. We heard from our own Director of Guidance and Education Services, Janet Hancock, of Current Practices in Plano. Then we also heard from Shannon Vogel, who's the Director of the Safety Net program that currently serves around 275 students in Plano. We focused on 3 areas. First, in SSI, non-suicidal self-injury, strategies for prevention and individual support, and then a Cornell protocol for assisting students that might be self-harming. Non-suicidal self-injury is the response to overwhelming emotion when one has difficulty representing or thinking about emotion or using coping skills to self-soothe. So as a group, we looked at the research from our presentations, from our articles, and we came up with 2 statements here. One is young people need to be equipped with the tools to help them manage stress and anxiety. This should include a positive support system both at home and at school, and access to accurate information and resources about self-injury. So then as a group, we looked at what can schools impact? So schools can positively enhance protective factors. Some of these protective factors that schools can enhance include social and emotional health, positive attitude to help seeking, positive sense of identity, positive connection between child and school, pro-social peer groups, focusing on future goals, opportunities for academic and other school achievement, and connecting to caring adults. And then as a counseling staff, having accurate information about self-harm and the resources to help students and families. Next, we looked at individuals that could be self-harming. So when students is showing signs or symptoms of self-harm, schools should focus on students' individual needs. There are actionable steps schools can take to support the individual needs of students that are self-harming. Some of these actionable items include working with the child and family, reducing stress, collaborating with students and parents to assess current schedules and activities and what might need to be adjusted, and then provide support and resources to the students and family. Next, we reviewed the school process protocol from Cornell and compared it to our current practices. After going through this and hearing from Janet Hancock, we feel comfortable that our current practices align with this suggested protocol. And that concludes goal 1. Our second goal was to identify best practices and reporting mechanisms that support student safety and wellness. For this goal, the SHAC reviewed the PISD tip line and researched current campus practices. So we reviewed the use of the availability of the tip line, then heard from a principal panel regarding reporting procedures. So the SHAC reviewed the current tip line, looking into the accessibility, topics, ability to upload files, and the ability to stay anonymous. Recently, the PISD app, which includes the tip line, was reintroduced to all 5th through 12th graders, and some time was spent showing how to fill out that tip line. Next, we brought in a panel of principals and assistant principals and discussed multiple topics about the tip line and alternative reporting mechanisms, such as who receives the tip, what population most commonly uses the tip line, and other options available to students, parents for sharing concerns. And then the 2 visuals are examples of how specific schools publicize the tip line. The SHAC came up with the following recommendations. 1, to make the tip line more visible for students, parents, and the community. That includes all campuses provide a simple, accessible, easy to find communication tool to direct them to the tip line. Example, like the QR code posted or a tip line to the tip line or school posters. Explore the district's responsibility for around-the-clock 24-hour monitoring of the tip line, and consider additional topics for the tip line, for example, self-harm, vaping.
Could I ask you a question right there?
Yes, absolutely.
So in your study, did you find, and I like these recommendations, but did you find that the tip line was not being used effectively or efficiently, or is this just, do we think that we have the right mechanism, we just need to enhance that?
Correct. I think we have the right mechanism. It's just enhancing it and making it more public. You know, the parents within the committee hadn't heard of it. And so after reviewing it, they were excited about everything that it offered.
So, I'm looking at the visuals here.
Yes.
With the QR code and so forth. And, you know, these are probably present at the school.
Right.
I don't know if a student's going to walk by and scan the code. Hey, look at me! I need to talk to a counselor.
Right.
You know, they probably want a more private way to do that. So could we also consider like tweeting about it? You know,
absolutely.
Social kids, like frequently to say, hey, maybe it's different tips. Like, hey, did you know this? Did you know that? And they can like take the link and it's private.
Yes.
Just raising the visibility because, you know, I mean, we have Crime Stoppers stuff. We've got all kinds of stuff around the school, and kids see it so much they kind of
right.
don't see it anymore.
Right.
But they see what's on their phone.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that was one of the concerns was just the thought that a student's not going to go to the web page, then go to the
we have to push
campus,
it out.
And then and so just as visible as we can make it. And I agree with those suggestions.
Yeah. So making that part of just considering. I mean, we're adding staff to, we're adding a social media person to communications in our budget if that's approved. There could be like district level communications going out, campus based also. When you're done, I'll go back and ask some of my other questions.
Okay.
But since David jumped in, I thought.
Absolutely.
So Brian, the other thing is.
Yes.
On April 20th, we had about 7,000 downloads of the app.
Yeah. So let's just keep it up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Showing them this feature and that feature. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, to conclude the presentation, we have two recommendations for the 18-19 goals from the SHAC committee for the board's review. One is for the group to review and approve a new human sexuality curriculum for health. And two, review and make recommendations regarding physical education, physical activity, and coordinated school health programs. And the reason we came up with these two goals is the current SHAC committee hasn't had the opportunity to review these things. So give them an opportunity to play a part in approving those. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, can we go back to the beginning?
Absolutely.
I have some things I'm wondering about. So with regard to the summary of findings, equipping young people with tools to help them manage stress and anxiety, read through a list of some things.
Right.
So one of those is social emotional learning. And I know at elementary we have a curriculum to help support us, and we're doing things at secondary, but it's less structured, I think. We're trying lots of things. If we're counting on that to be a support structure for this, did you guys talk about that element at all and have any learnings or recommendations of what we can do in that area?
Not specifically. I mean, we again reviewed some of the counseling curriculum that's coming out that that's more focused on students helping students.
Yeah.
Reporting.
We've asked you guys a lot over the last few years, and obviously because we're trying to put a lot of emphasis on improving the mental health of our students and staff. And if other members of the committee have something to weigh in, come on, you're welcome to weigh in on this. But I want to make sure that we need them to have, we need to think about, I think, how we're helping at secondary.
Yeah, so a couple of things that, we have a couple of budgetary proposals coming forward to assist in that specific area. We've spent this year working with secondary teams, about 11 secondary teams, on terms of how to work on implementing some social emotional, more targeted social emotional strategies. We'll be continuing that work next year on that. We have looked at some curriculums for 9-10 that we're going to be piloting on some of those campuses as well, with some of the resources that are coming forth. So there's it's been a little slower at the secondary. Finding time, place, location to do that has been a challenge, but we're continuing to work with some secondary campuses to try to make that happen. So next year we really do have some plans moving forward for next year to try to implement some strategies and things at secondary. Primarily I would say right now with even secondary is that we are exploring more of the mindfulness, a lot of the breathing, a lot of the social anxiety. There's several campuses that are working with some yoga and some areas like that to help skill building in kids in terms of specific things they could be doing with some of the things they addressed here. But yes, it really is on the beginning levels of that. But as like I said, we're trying to work towards getting some budget things in place so that we can move forward with some structures to really roll this out in a meaningful way.
Okay, so that's sort of from a preventative, or providing the skills and building the skills. So let's say now a student is in a crisis mode, and you learn through a tip line that hey, my friend is needing help, or somebody self-reports, I need help. And in our current structure, our counselors are tasked with many responsibilities. They're qualified to help in this area, but they're stretched. Did you guys have any conversation about what you'd like for us to think about doing to help support those needs that students have when they say, hey, I'm struggling, I'm stressed out, I'm feeling, very like I need help. Our staff is stretched. Did you guys discuss that and think about how we could, remedy that?
Not to those specifics.
Okay.
We did, walk through the process of what happens if a student does report, if it's anxiety, if it's stress, if it's self-harm, suicidal tendencies, and what that looks like. We educated our group on from when the principal gets a report to that going to the counseling department, to the counseling, helping get them the resources. But we didn't talk about really the stretch on the staff.
One of the things I think that we, from the counseling group, speaking for them, that you can do is continue to, support us in the ratios that we've been able to establish with our secondary counseling, because I think that's where we get more stretched than others.
Yeah.
And our counselors do take this as a priority, even when we're doing conferences, that they will drop those things to really assist the student. Are we all stretched in that way? Exactly. But I think we really spend a lot of resources training our counselors and trying to help our counselors be able to work with kids in these difficult situations to be able to support them. And we are blessed with some good counseling ratios compared to our neighbors at the secondary level, which is helpful with that.
So, with regard to staffing, my niece was a psychology major in college, and when she was in college as part of a program, she actually manned a helpline. Is that an option? Can we leverage local universities to assist you all as maybe being an initial person to talk to that could then report to the counselors? Are there other agencies that we could rely on to provide you with some assistance? Is that an option?
I think we're looking at other options of community resources that can help us in assisting those. I guess my belief, Mr. Stoley, is that the best person is going to be that counselor who has a relationship with that kid. That's the most likely who that kid's going to come to. We do offer suicide helplines and things like that for kids who want to call into some of those things. But certainly, we're very much open to trying to find as many resources in the community to help our students as they can.
We actually have a couple of conversations going on right now that I will bring back to the board as things start to look like they might develop in the area of counseling and some other partnerships within the community. I use that word loosely right now because we're still in such initial conversations, but that's been a focus of some of the direction that we've been having at this level.
It's just going to take time for us to, as we're developing this and informing students about options. I know I'm still in the Plano West, email, and they were having mental health awareness. I think it was this week or last week, and hey, that's new. So, students, I think, are learning about resources, so I appreciated that.
Well, hopefully our YAM program that we're really trying to get to most of our kids out there is going to help them feel less ostracized about mental health issues to where they're more willing to come and ask for help, because I think that's really the key. I mean, I think after April 20th and the big push we did, yes, it was about being safe, but we've seen lots of tips come anonymously about various things, including others that are willing to harm themselves. So their friends may feel more comfortable going through that tip line and making that known versus, outing your friend because they're afraid what their friend's going to do when they come back. So I think that's a very big tool that I think I agree with you. We've got to really roll that out in a way and continue to lift that up, so that's a way kids can get help for their friends and themselves.
I have a quick question. I've been concerned with the drug use crisis, and do you take data about who calls in for the tip line?
Yeah, I mean, that is part of it. I mean, yeah, we do get a lot of tips. We get a lot of tips of a lot of different kinds, and one of those would be, also Crime Stoppers gets tips on those things. But, we do have our substance abuse specialists that work at each of our senior high campuses and support our high schools that we really hope that our teachers, we do some training with our teachers to try to funnel them in before, so that we can try to prevent as much as we can.
Can you shed some light on the 2 goals for next year?
Yes. The first one is, one of the parts of the SHAC is to get community buy-in and approve of the human sexuality curriculum. And with this being, the last 3 years, an entire new group, I wanted to get their stamp of approval on what we're teaching our current students. And then the second one is a lot of the members are interested in what we're doing for our students physically, what we're feeding our students, and so just a review of all the physical activity, nutrition, coordinated school health that we currently offer in Plano. Thank you.
And Brian, are you going to compare every high school what they're serving? Because is it true that one school gets a salad bar and another school doesn't?
I'm not sure.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, Brian.
Great. Thank y'all very much.
Our next report is on dual credit, and Dr. Katrina Hasley will introduce the report on the dual credit programs in Plano ISD.
Thank you, Ms. Bender. As you will recall, in December we brought the list of new courses to the board, and there were some dual credit courses on that list, which spurred some conversation about dual credit. So we wanted to take the opportunity to provide a comprehensive update for you on all dual credit programs in the district. We're going to look at a little bit of information from the past, and then presently what we're doing and some plans for the future. So my team, along with some campus services staff, have been working on compiling the information for you. The presentation will be in 4 parts. Dr. Lisa Thibodeau, our Executive Director of Secondary Academics, will present the first 2 parts, starting with general overview of dual credit in Plano, and then she'll take a deeper dive into academic dual credit. Then David Hitt, our CTE Director, will provide the 3rd part, which is about dual credits for students at the Health Sciences Academy. And then lastly, Amy Bates, our Director for Special Projects, will give an update on the progress of our Future Industries Academy, which, as you know, will offer workforce dual credit for students. So Dr. Thibodeau will also be introducing some special guests we have with us tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Hasley.
I did want to, before we get started, introduce our guests who are here. We have Raul Martinez with us, who is the Associate Vice President of K-12 Partnerships for Collin College, and then Dr. Brenda Keel, who's the Executive Vice President of Collin College here also. So, and I think they know this, but they're actually here also to be available for questions. So I think I warned you of that, right, before you came. And I just want to say how grateful we are for their partnership with us, and they have a shared commitment with us for our student success, and also just for the time that they take spending answering my questions and working with our teachers in our department, and for being here tonight. And then also this evening, Kathy Gashin, I see her in the she's back row, Gashin back there. Kathy is the assistant principal at Plano Academy High School, and there is a unique dual credit program there, so she came tonight in case there are any questions that you had to answer, to ask for that. So we did this last time that we did a dual credit presentation for you. Just wanted to share with you the definition that's found in Texas Administrative Code. Dual credit is typically seen as a subset of the idea of dual enrollment, but it's just simultaneous enrollment, a student earning credit, high school credit, and college course credit at the same time for the same learning experience, the same course. So. And the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board has this benefit that they talk about, and I've shared this before with you, just that they see this as stepping stones, an essential experience for many students to get them involved in degree programs or workforce. In Plano, we've identified some additional benefits that we believe in, and you have those there. The research shows us that there's an increased likelihood of high school completion, increased likelihood that students will enroll in college, and that they'll persist in college if they're involved in a dual credit program. Decreased costs to the parents for college tuition, of course. Earlier workforce entry and access to wages, good for that. That's good for the student, good for the economy also. This is my favorite, is the last one, though, is that students who engage in this experience are testing the waters, if you will, of the college experience, the rigorous college experience. They're doing that in a supportive environment. So they're doing that here where we can support them before we kind of kick them out of the nest, if you will, to go and have that experience on their own. This is a new rule that we've paid some attention to, just clarifying. It was actually passed, the Senate Board and Senate Bill 1091 was passed, I think, in June, but then the Higher Ed Coordinating Board finally adopted that in September, clarified for us the types of courses that we can offer in a school district around dual credit. And I'm just going to kind of start at the bottom. They include in this any course that's in our early college high school program. But where we are right now as a state is that early college high school program is no longer accepting new applications, or at least for a year or two. They're revamping that program, is my understanding. So if you're in that program now, you can continue with that. If you're not in that program now, you have to wait until it's redesigned and reopened. And then the other three are the ones that then have the most meaning for us here in the district. So we can offer dual credit courses that are tied to the college's core curriculum. In this instance, the college refers to our partner college. So we're asked every year to identify a partner college, and that's Collin College is our partnership. If you go back a while, that was probably established because of proximity, but over the years we've appreciated that relationship that we have with them and have maintained them as our primary partner in there. And then of course foreign language courses and career and technical courses in addition to the college's core. And I believe I gave you in your agenda packet a copy of when we refer to Collin's core curriculum. Those are the 42 hours of the 60 hours that are required for the associate degree. So the difference between those 42 and the 60 are the electives that students would select. So we select the courses we're going to offer from that list that's in their core. And by we, I mean we, never alone. And then we have a couple of different types of dual credit that we offer here in Plano. We have the academic and workforce. And as Dr. Hasley mentioned, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about academic, and then David Hitt and Amy Bates will share more detailed information about workforce credits. But they have, they work differently, academic and workforce credits, so we like to talk about them separately to make sure they're understood. This is a quick look at participation by type. The top 3 unshaded rows represent our current programs. So currently we have academic dual credit in 3 programs. Our typical familiar senior high school campus program, then the Plano Academy High School, that's academic, and then our Health Science Academy has both academic and workforce credits. The shaded rows there, those are our future plans. That's around some expansion work that we're doing. So the Future Industries Academy that Amy will talk to you a bit about, that will be a workforce credit program. And then we're expanding to the high school campuses soon, and those will be academic credits when we make that expansion. So we have 3 providers in Plano ISD. Of course, we have Collin College, which is our primary provider of most of the credits that we offer. We have the University of North Texas, which is the work at the Plano Academy High School. And then we actually have one course from the University of Texas that we also provide, and that's a long history. It was initiated in 2012. A relationship between a teacher we had at the time and a need that the university had to do some course development. So we offered that course and have maintained that, but it's a single course. And I think there's more information about that in your packet, and later in the presentation I'll tell you the name of that course also. But that's just a 1 3-hour course. So this is an important look, or just a perspective that we have around participation in dual credit and why it's an important program for us. So unlike other programs, and sometimes I use IB as an example, where you're really getting, you're investing in a program, you're really getting in there and committing to particular schedule and a particular program that lasts several years. Dual credit has so much variability in it. So participation in this can range from students who plan to go to Collin College for a 2-year degree, and they're going to access courses early and get a head start on that. It can be students who know where they're going, and they know that we have some courses that will apply to their degree plan, so they can hand select 1 or 2 courses that are appropriate for their own degree plan and move forward there. It can be for students who don't know their trajectory yet, but perhaps know that they want to attend college, and their parents want them to have that experience, a rigorous course experience. So what's so important to us about dual credit is just that we're providing students with a variety of experiences. We want a lot of options for students so that they don't feel tied into necessarily a single program, but can access it in a way that's meaningful to them and makes the most sense to them. So some quick enrollment numbers for you. Here's our numbers of students participating over the years. So in our academic program, 15, 16, 16, 17, 17, 18. And then academic at Plano Academy High School, and then workforce also. And this is specifically the number of students who have accessed at least one course there. And then the next slide is the number of courses that were taken. So this is showing you that some students have enrolled in multiple courses, right? So the number of students and the number of courses they've taken there. Okay, so I'm going to leave behind some of the overview information and just share some specifics just tied to academic dual credit. So this is the UT course offering that I mentioned to you. It's the UT college course name is Engineering Your World. Here within the district we call it Engineering Design and Problem Solving. It's a 3-hour credit. We actually just have one section of that course. At this time I think we thought that there were maybe 15 students, Amy, in that course right now.
Lisa, where is that physically being taught?
It's at Plano Senior High School, yes. And then these are our current UNT course offerings, the ones that our students, we've had in place for several years. Been common for our students to take these. That does not look. This is our current course offerings. So U.S. History, U.S. Government, Economics, and then the English 4. And you approved multivariable calculus for us 2 new course cycles ago, so we've just been offering that actually for 1 year. So currently in Plano ISD, these are the courses that our students can take for academic dual credit in our traditional program through Collin College, and the number of course credits that they can earn there.
So are all these
Yes.
courses offered at all 3 senior high schools?
Yes, they are.
And the UNT slide that you went past.
Yes, let me go back to that one. Yes, I was misreading my own heading there. It's a UNT course offering. I was saying Collin. Those are the courses that are only offered at Plano Academy High School. Yes, and just to kind of point out the reason that we have a different program there. So if you think first of how students access it's project-based, problem-based learning. It's just it's a different experience that they have to have. They're not sitting in a an English course for 45 or 50 minutes. They really are in an environment where we've had to manipulate the outcomes and the curriculum to fit within projects. And so we've done that through partnership with UNT. Okay, there we go. And we talked to you last year about some expansion work around our offering with Collin College, our courses there. So here's where we're moving for next school year. And I just really want to say it's a moving target. We're trying to stay focused on it and make it work at this point. But we have the pre-calculus class, and we call that pre-calculus on our end because our students are earning state credit for pre-calculus. But in Collin's language, our students have Math 1314 and 2412, which is the college algebra and pre-calculus at Collin. Then the statistics course, we'll offer that as a 1-year course, and students will earn 3 credits for that 1-year course, because we'll be spreading out the learning outcomes in that course across the entire school year. So students will enroll with 1 course in Collin and receive the state credit. And then English 3, those are same 2 courses, same 2 composition courses that we're currently offering in English 4. We're going to move those down to English 3 and allow those to serve as prerequisites, so in future years we can offer additional credits to our English 4 students. So 1301 and 1302 are same courses we currently offer. We're moving them down to English 3.
Lisa, which
Yes.
students would we recommend take the Math 1314, the college algebra?
So I actually have a slide with some information on that, if you don't mind if I wait to get to that, because my specific notes are there on that thing. But we have looked carefully and closely at that to make sure that there's a variety of students that can access that course.
Okay,
Thank you.
You know that was a loaded question.
Can I ask you?
We were aware of the interest in that question, so we did address it. Yes.
Going
Yes,
back
sir.
to the UNT course offerings for
Yes.
English 3 and 4 at the Academy, are all English 3 and 4 courses dual credit, or is this an option? I'm just trying to figure out, how do you differentiate between dual credit English 3 and 4 versus non-dual credit in that environment?
Kathy, the students are moving in a cycle between English 3 and English 4, is that correct? And this is an option for those students. Yes, if they choose to enroll in that course, it's an option for them. Did that answer your
It does. I guess I'm still trying to distinguish in a single group of students. Are all of the students within the same group they're all English, they're dual credit, and then there are those that are not? Okay.
That's correct. Do you want me to have Kathy come up and share some more? Okay, that is
I'm
correct, yes.
As I read that, I was wondering why any student would not take dual credit.
Yes.
In that environment. I think it would just be a natural fit.
It's similar to the other discussion about that. There are some students who recognize the benefit of that. They're really interested in that. They want to earn the credits and move forward. There are other students who would say, I know when I get to the program that I'm interested in, that's not going to be a highly transferable course for me, so I'm not going to enroll in that dual credit course. let's see, where was I? Yes. So then this is an additional list of future courses we're interested in working with Colin on, and this would be for the following year. So the previous list was 18-19, this would be the 19-20, and when Raul Martinez reviewed our PowerPoint, he reminded me that I was jumping the gun just a little bit on the ART 1313, so there should theoretically be an asterisk next to that number. We're still having some conversation about that. So we're interested in the Learning Framework course. This would be offered in our high schools, and it would be paired with the speech course. So Learning Framework is essentially an opportunity for students to access all the skills and understandings they need to be successful dual credit students. So they take that in the fall, and then we would pair that with the speech class in the spring. And then we're interested in an AP biology class, and we had to get some clearance around our lab spaces for that, and that was a really successful meeting with Collin College and the tours that the Collin deans took and the professors of our labs, and we got a nice thumbs up on that, which we were really excited to see. So
Lisa, are all
Yes.
these classes offered on our campuses?
These would all be on our campuses.
Okay, so do we have any model of our students needing transportation to one of the Collin College campuses?
We do not. No.
That is unique for
Yes.
our county, and I appreciate that happening.
Thank you.
Lisa, can you talk
Yes.
about the AP biology a little
Yes.
bit more?
So there was a point in time when there were some restrictions on the crossover of AP courses and dual credit. So we do now have the ability to offer an AP course along with dual credit, provided that we meet. So now we're meeting a triplicate of standards. We're meeting the Collin College's learning outcomes. We're meeting the AP standards for that course, and we're meeting the state standards for that course also. But we took a look at that and did some preliminary work, and it looks very possible. We currently in Plano spend probably a little more time on labs than would be typical in the area, and we're proud of our science program, and we think that that's part of the reason our students are successful in science is our commitment to that lab work. So that served us well in this review, and so our students would choose to enroll in an AP biology course, and they'd earn the college credit for that.
Do they take the AP exam?
They certainly can, just like any other student enrolled in the AP course. If they'd like to take the exam, they can, and most of them do.
But if they get C or better, they get credit.
That's correct, yes.
And do they have to pay for the college on the front end taking the class?
Yes, just like a regular dual credit enrollment, they would pay to enroll in the Bio 1406 and then Bio 1407 with Colin. Pay for that
The
enrollment.
exception is for students on free and reduced lunch.
Yes, of course, always.
So
So is it required for all AP biology students to take the dual credit pathway, or can they choose only to do the AP portion?
They would choose. We have so many sections of that AP biology class that we would certainly be able to have unique sections of AP Bio for students who are interested in the dual credit program.
So, what about learning materials?
Well, we're starting to take that on because that is absolutely prohibitive for some of our students. So for this list of courses that we are looking at for next year, we've received quotes on all of those texts. We're working that into our budget, into our instructional materials allotment. We're working with the college professors and the deans to identify the best materials for that. The hiccup that we're finding is sometimes there are online components for those that are non-transferable. So if there's an online component to a course text that you can buy the license for and then recover that and reuse it, we're purchasing that. When we can't recover that, we haven't completely decided yet because we haven't decided on the exact text, but depending on the cost of that, we're looking at whether we can still manage that cost for students or if we're going to pass that on to students, since it's not, it's a consumable essentially at that point.
So this is assuming that the instructional materials would be the same for a period of years.
Yes, it does, and we've had a lot of conversations with Colin about that, and They don't, I would call that a luxury that we have as a school district. They don't necessarily have that as a luxury, and certainly correct me if I get this wrong. But when they have their next round of students come in to take the 1301 course, and they call the publisher and say, we need this many copies for our bookstore, the publisher may say, I actually don't have the 4th edition anymore, we only now have the 5th edition. So they have no control over that. The college has no control over that. I think sometimes that's a bad rap. I know when my children were in college and I would get their textbook lists and I'd say, oh, every one of these is the brand new edition. You know, why is the college choosing to do that? And really it's because they don't have access to earlier editions. So at times when we would, and I think the composition's a good example, when we have access to the earlier edition and we can meet with the deans of that college and review the changes, what happened between the 4th and the 5th edition, and it's a single piece of text or not much, then we'll move forward with using the text that we have. So it's precarious and it's new, and we're really spending a lot of time trying to figure that out and looking at quotes and talking to distributors and our book reps and stuff to make sure that happens.
Thank you.
I can't remember if I got through that list there. So we have theater. Also, like the theater would be more like the statistics, where it's a year-long course with connecting to one semester credit of the call-in. And then English 4, the new courses there, that's assuming the 1301 and the 1302 move down to 11th grade, and then we can offer 2 additional literature courses for English 4. So all in all, this is just our 3-year trajectory. We felt like this might be the right size bite to take out of the idea of expansion at this point in time. We would be moving from currently offering 18 hours to next year we'd be at 33, and then the following year we'd be at 54. We're still staying within the core by doing that. We're because obviously the core has more courses than the 42 hours a student would need. The top line is without multivariable calculus. We just added that because right now we've only offered it for a year, and students have to see that coming. And our students do their 4-year planning sometimes before the 4 years. Sometimes they start planning in 7th and 8th grade their mathematics trajectory. So knowing that that's available, we think that we'll see an increase over time as students prepare to take that course. But to be fair, the more honest look at the number of credits we're offering for the general population is that top row. And then if we have students qualifying for the multivariable, which requires BC calculus and a score of 5, I think it's a 5 on the BC Calc AP test, then that would be 61 credit hours that those students could get.
So, Lisa,
Yes, sir.
realistically, I know on those available credits, a lot of those are, for example, there might be 2 different classes for English 4. Rough guess, how many credits through dual credit could a student earn by the time they graduate?
So, for example, those 2 credits, that would be our state English 4 course, and students would take English 4 and have 6 credits.
Oh, I got you.
So they're really not choosing between the 2, they're really collecting 6
Yeah,
credits. Yes. So we don't have, we have some overlap with math. I don't think the students who would be taking our pre-cal dual credit are also going to be taking our multivariable calculus, for example, but they may be taking statistics. So I haven't thought about your question, so I'm thinking it through, but I think it could be possible for students to actually graduate with those 54 hours. There's not overlap there among courses, so yeah.
There's a bit of a different answer to your question, and that's how many credits toward any of the traditional 4-year majors would students be able to have. And I looked at 2 different majors looking at UNT. One was a teaching degree, an English major, and I think we'd end up offering 36 credit hours through this program that would apply to them. I looked at a BBA in marketing, which is one of the least math-centric of the business degrees. We would end up offering 42 credit hours that would really count. And I think that's what I'm all about, what's really gonna count, what's gonna save a child time and money, because I look at the number of kids who are having to self-pay, and it really concerns me. And the more we can do to help them take courses that count and matter and take something off their list, that's where I think we'll serve the kids. So 61 hours looks great, but some of those courses will not count toward their degrees. They're going for a 4-year degree.
I wanted to interject real quick on that point. Tammy, you did ask a question last time about the value of offering the college algebra, which is paired with pre-calculus, and it gives them our state credits for pre-cal and college credit for college algebra and the pre-calculus. So we looked at that in 2 ways. We looked up core curriculum, which is required by the top 6 colleges where most of our students enroll according to Dash's report. And we also looked at various degree plans from some of those colleges, the education, liberal arts, business, medicine, STEM. And so in looking at the core curriculum only, out of 5 of the 6, it would include college algebra and or pre-calculus as an option for the math in the core curriculum. However, when you look at the degree plans, as you said before, some of those degree plans require a math higher than college algebra and pre-cal as to be the ones that would count for their core. And so in general, of course, we didn't look at every degree plan there was at every university, but the ones for education and liberal arts were more likely to accept the college algebra or the calculus, the pre-cal, and then the ones in business, medicine, engineering would require the higher maths. So what we learned from that is, as we continue to evaluate all of our offerings, we'll continue to look at it in that way, comparing to core curriculum requirements as well as some of the most popular degree plans our students go with, so that we can take a look at what's valuable, but we also don't want to keep all students, we want to offer options for all students, not only the ones who would end up in the multivariable calculus, but others as well.
But certainly even looking at the education degree with an English major at UNT, they don't accept college algebra. The first course they offer is pre-calculus above that. And so that student taking college algebra in high school would offer them no benefit in terms of saving time or money in their degree. In the business program, they only take the college algebra course if they score poorly on their placement exam. And then it doesn't count toward their math. The first math they take is actually a business calculus class. And so I guess I've been on this religious war against college algebra for a number of years, just because I don't want to miscommunicate to our students what's really going to count toward their 4-year degree. And I still struggle to define the degrees where college algebra is part of that degree. And I just would hope that as we advise students in our high schools and senior high schools, I don't want them proudly saying, oh, I took college algebra, and we have to say, well, it's not going to help you, sadly.
Well, we have worked with Jana Hancock and made sure that we put a statement in the course catalog for next year about making sure you check transferability, talk with your counselor before signing up for dual credit classes. So we're working on to make sure the communication piece is evident there also. But Lisa probably has more to say about that when she gets to that slide, but I did want to tell you that we looked into that in detail.
Does it count towards the associate's degree kids? I'm just wondering, I mean, from a Collin perspective, of kids that are going for an associate's degree, would the college algebra in some cases apply for those kids? I mean, that may not be the majority of our kids, but I'm just curious.
Yes, it's a core class for Collin, so to get the associate's degree, they need to finish the core plus electives, so there's a lot of flexibility for the associate's degree and any math that's in our core would qualify.
Okay, so for a smaller number of our kids, that might be something, but for the majority of them, it starts with the pre-cal, it sounds like, for sure. Okay.
Can I birdwalk for a moment with an apology? I just saw Lynn Ojeda in the audience, who is our principal at Plano Academy High School, and I introduced Kathy, and I know Lynn, okay, Lynn's deferring to make me feel better, so thank you, Lynn, I'm sorry, yes, yeah. Double the expert space in the room. So this, we just thought around this idea, and we got to a point where we recognized the system that we were using as we were identifying new courses, but really wanted to just be explicit about that just among the department. What are we actually doing when we look at new course selections? So we tried to capture all of those ideas, and put them maybe in a little bit of a sequence. I'm not committed to it. We don't commit to the sequence, but we look at the interests and needs of our students and needs to your point about courses, but also student interests. And then you can't go anywhere before you look at after that and without looking at transferability and what will that look like for students. And then we do the standards crosswalk, which is just a really neat process where we put our state standards up against our the learning outcomes from the course, and we identify how much overlap is there, what's obvious, and then we really do want to focus our students' attention on the Collin College outcomes without giving up, our accountability to the state. So that's a neat process. Then we look at prerequisites. We're moving to the embedded faculty model, which I'll share some more with you in just a moment. But so that causes us to have to look at faculty qualifications and availability, and also within there, for places where we don't think we'll have a strong showing in faculty qualifications, how close are we? Do we have the capacity? Do we have a lot of teachers who are one course away from being qualified? And then do we have the ability to help them out to get that next course that they need? And that leads us to related costs, which is around that, plus instructional costs. And then ultimately we take it to the new course committee. And all of that work is not done in any one department, but is done across all of the departments. Really large departments intersect with all of that work.
So I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I remember last time we talked about that, there was a concern that we don't have enough teachers qualified to deliver those classes. What's the status now?
So that's actually part of the reason that the chart that I would have shown you a year ago had a couple of additional courses on it for this year, and a couple of those got moved off until next year. We're just really, we're still surfacing those teachers and still surfacing the requirements. Some areas have been easier than others. In English, we had plenty of teachers who had the 18 hours required for the English courses, but because these are composition rhetoric courses, Collin's looking for some specific instruction in that area. So we had a group of teachers who had the 18, but not the composition and rhetoric. We were able to identify the ones that the campuses wanted to use for this first run into this program, and then we, with the help of Collin, identified an online college course that they could take. And so we have 8 teachers this summer taking an online college course through Tarleton State that will meet their qualifications. So that was just easy access to meeting it. Math is a little bit more difficult, so it's 18 hours, but if you are teaching statistics, you have to have a certain number of those hours in statistics. So we're finding those teachers, but it's tricky, and it also has to cross with, for example, I know of a qualified teacher who says, but I'm on the verge of retirement, so all the pieces just have to be right in place. At this point, I feel confident that we'll find them for next year. Yes.
Lisa, will the fee structure be the same for the courses? Because we're using our talent.
Yes. So Collin will, the fee structure will be the same for the students. Collin will then, that money comes back to the district, goes directly to the to finance in the district. And some options are, do we want to give the teachers a stipend who are teaching those courses? Do we want to use that money to give them a stipend? Well, when we looked at that and we looked at course responsibility and course load and compared that to our AP teachers, for example, or our teachers who are teaching all on-level classes, it was hard to agree that this particular subset of teachers should get a stipend for this when we have other teachers working equally hard. So as it is now, that money will come back to the district. We'll keep the fee structure the same. And then as we move forward, we'll decide, is the right thing to do to reduce costs to students? Is it to try to capture some of those costs for the textbooks, recapture that? So we'll have to look at the adoption proclamations coming forward and see how instructional materials monies look and that sort of thing.
From a logistics standpoint, if a student is taking 2 courses, can they have, like my son now is doing a 0-hour economics. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So he didn't have class on Tuesday, Thursdays. Is it possible that student could double load so that they could free up their afternoon to work, or if they have a more of a college-like schedule.
Well, that's what was that TV show? The 64,000, 84?
Yeah,
64,000, that's the 64,000.
But that's something that could be happening.
Yes, so our students are very much in agreement with the idea of maintaining, especially our seniors, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday course load. The typical, right, yes, you have firsthand. The typical move there as you move to embedded faculty would be that the students would follow the district calendar, they'd follow the schedule of those teachers Monday through Friday. But because of the outcry that we got from students, we're really looking at some opportunities, maybe a blended model for our students or something like that. They wouldn't be able to double up in a way that would give them 2 classes in one class period, for example. So for first period, you couldn't take two courses for first period. Yes. So we limit so that all
So
students have
the
access
Tuesday,
to it.
Thursday off time.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So here's just a little bit on the embedded faculty discussion. I'm just going to say honestly, this is an aggressive timeline for transferring over, but we've committed to it. Colin's helped us commit to that. So currently we have no embedded faculty. So in 17-18, all of our current courses are taught by Colin professors who come over to our campus. Then next year, the classes that we currently have in place that we're not changing will stay the same, and those will continue to be Colin professors coming. But our new courses that we're offering will move forward with embedded faculty for our new courses. And then the following year, we will attempt to shift fully and move into an embedded faculty model. So we'll know more so as we get closer to that what the qualifications look like that. And I should say that our HR department has been actively involved in that discussion and has been even posting unique job posts for teachers who are qualified with a certain number of hours in a course or something like that. And we've had conversations, especially with our senior high campuses, about looking for those applicants, not that exclusively, but qualified applicants who also have those 18 hours should give them a leg up. And then the discussion about transferability is to Dr. Hasley's points that she made there. We recognize this top bullet as being important, that on the books and on paper, the public universities they're required to accept any of these credits that students get. But they do have this caveat where they can accept them, with quotes, they can accept them as electives. So it might be a required course, but they'll say, yes, we'll take that, the math course or college algebra, but we're going to take it as an elective, or we'll take it fully, but we're going to make a strong recommendation to you that if you want in this program, you'll retake that course. So it's not as clear as that requirement. I just am constantly believing that this is just a moving target, that even students who know where they're going, they know exactly the course trajectory they're going to be on, with great advisement from our counselors, can take the right course with that in mind and can apply and show up at that university and find out later something's changed. So there's no responsibility on the university as the students are applying to assure them that their decisions are going to be the ones that are accepted. So this is actually what when I was referring to your question earlier, Tammy, about the course. So it's transferability is different when we're talking about dual credit, of course, than when we're talking about a student who is who has graduated from Plano and he's attending Collin College on his own. So that student goes to Collin and he worries about transferability because maybe he's thinking in 2 years, I want to go to Texas A&M or UNT or somewhere. So, but it's different when they're here because the dual and dual credit really has some weight to it. So we may have students now who don't need the college algebra course, but the pre-cal course would benefit them. Well, when they enroll in our course, we're able to give them state credit because we're meeting the standards that are in the college algebra course as well. So in other words, we can't choose to not offer the college algebra course because to get state credit for pre-cal, the content of that college algebra course is meaningful. So when we did the crosswalk, we noticed those are essential learning outcomes. So we did a little bit of work looking at, I'm sorry, I can't remember if Jana's department or Dash's department pulled this for us. We looked at the top 6 universities that our students are likely to attend. And if they attend college, about a third of our students will have some experience at Collin College. So about a third of our students who attend college will have some experience at college. So at Collin. So yes, to them, they take the 1314 and the 2412. At UT Dallas, which is one of the top 6, both will transfer, the college algebra and the pre-cal. At UT Austin, no to the college algebra, yes to the pre-cal. Texas A&M, a no and a no to their programs. University of Arkansas, yes to the college algebra, but no to the pre-cal. And then UNT, no to the college algebra and yes to the pre-cal. So it's kind of this, moving target idea, but on our end, we're recognizing that the benefit to our students is that they are getting their state credit as well. So it kind of removes the idea of a choice for them to say, well, I don't want any college algebra, I just want the pre-cal in a dual credit, in a local dual credit program.
So will our students be unable to take just 1314? They will only get it in tandem with the 2412?
Well, the only way that they would take 1314 is if they're enrolling for our course and they take 1314 and they don't pass that course, and therefore they don't have the prerequisite then through Collin to move on to the spring semester, which is the 2412 pre-cal. In that case, we would move them into a different course.
So what is that course called for us?
Which one?
Pre-calculus? It's called pre-calculus?
Pre-calculus, yes. Okay, so I'm done with this fun part of the presentation. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, David Hitt.
In spite of my consistent whining about college algebra, I'm really thrilled to see the new courses that have been added because, as I said, the calculations I came up with is we're going to be giving kids the opportunity to get 42 credits toward a business degree at a good university like UNT. So that's actually 35% of a college degree while under our oversight. And particularly for a kid who's having to self-pay, and more of them are than we realize, this is huge, and I hope we can start to include in our counseling even this pathway. I know we're going to talk about cybersecurity and the 4-year plan, but we need the same sort of thing to help kids who know they want to go into business or education understand how to pick our courses so they can do this, because they're not all going to have a crazy mom who sits and does this kind of stuff.
Well, as many of you know, the Health Sciences Academy provides a unique opportunity for our students to pick up both some academic credits as well as some workforce credits. So we're going to shift over and talk about more of the workforce credits now. The academic numbers were included in the numbers that you saw on the charts that Lisa showed earlier for our HSA students as well. Before we get a little bit more detailed, though, I do want to thank our partners, Collin College, specifically Dr. Keel for the work done from the HSA's inception, and Raul Martinez, and then several of you who also worked through that, have been on the board that length of time and helped start that program. So appreciate y'all's years and dedication and work towards that. In the Health Sciences Academy, the pathways or track that the students are in is dictated by their grade level. And so starting in the 9th grade, the dual credit course, if you will, is an articulated or deferred credit course. So that's taught by one of our PISD staff members at Williams campus. And that articulated credit is with the Introduction to Healthcare Systems, is what the HPRS stands for at Collin. And being articulated, that just means that, after they enroll in a number of regular courses, that would show up on their Collin transcript as a credit. And then in 10th grade, we look at the next slide there, there are, on our side, called medical terminology transcripted, and then for their dual credit courses, we were able to start an embedded model with this particular grade level this past school year. And so with Colin's help, we got our teacher approved to teach those courses, and we are, like Lisa mentioned, receiving the reimbursement for the number of credit hours that our teacher provides, and then that goes right into finance, right back into the Health Sciences Academy's accounts. So it's a win-win, again, because of the scheduling, the calendars that we both, the different calendars between the college calendar and the ISD calendar, et cetera. So it's definitely a good model. The one exception to that at the 10th grade level is just there are some requirements in the lab that we do have a call-in faculty has to come over to take care of that responsibility, so we meet the requirements for that. So those courses are basic health profession skills, healthcare communications, and medical terminology. Again, those are workforce credits. And I'll talk a little bit more after each grade level here, or at the end of the grade levels, about what that can mean as far as transferability. And then we move into the 11th grade. The students move to the Plano East campus, and those courses at the Plano East campus, both 11th and 12th grade, are all taught by Colin faculty that come over. There's two different tracks that starts to dictate what courses they take and which courses they receive the dual credit for. So in the 11th grade, they're divided between the CNA, which is the Certified Nurse's Aide or Certified Nurse Assistant program, versus the Allied Health. In the CNA pathway, the equivalents of those numbers, pathophysiology, and then the course they named after me. I think it's healthcare information technology. Oh, okay, what the heck. Worth a try. Healthcare delivery systems, and then the clinical CNA and the nurse aide course. And the other 11th grade for the allied health is the pathophysiology, the healthcare delivery systems, and legal and ethical aspects. So at the senior level, the students at that point have a pathway that includes a certification that they're seeking, or multiple certifications. And when we use the word certifications, we also remind you that we're talking about they're picking up industry certifications as well as call-in certifications that are defined, and those are incentives as they meet a certain number of hours, 15 hours, 30 hours, as they go towards. That's an incentive that most community colleges use to designate. The health science students in the 12th grade dual workforce credits align with their certification track, like I mentioned. So the first one listed there shows the students that are in the patient care technician track. They would take the clinical CNA and the CNA 1301. And again, to not make this slide overcomplicated, students, in order to receive the PCT, or patient care technician certification, industry certification, they have to have both or all three, the CNA, the EKG, and the phlebotomy. So that's what it takes to get the PCT, and so that's why you'll see that listed, and PCT, under 3 of those. For our EMT, emergency medical tech students, they're taking the Collins Intro to EMT, their regular emergency medical technician course, and the clinical-emergency medical, which of course would include, and the technician, which would include their ride-outs, so to speak, or the rotational aspect of the EMT program. And then the next line would be the EKG and PCT, so that's the DSAE 1340 and the lab, which is the diagnostic electrocardiography. And then finally, the phlebotomy and PCT track is the phlebotomy course, and then the clinical in phlebotomy.
David, is there an age requirement on that phlebotomy?
You know, I don't know. With the CNA, it's a 16, have to be 16.
Okay.
But with phlebotomy, I don't know if there is an age on that one or not.
You have to be 18.
18.
They're flexible with that.
That's what I thought. So
Okay.
limits our
Yeah,
participation a little bit.
right. But they're a senior.
But they can take the go out to the clinicals, but they won't get their license until they turn 18. It's the same thing with the EMT. They can take the
Coursework.
coursework in the exam, but they won't get their state certification until they turn 18.
Because it requires the hours. So basically, they're punching into oranges and things like that that simulate. All right. I also included a slide here just to remind you again. I've shared this reports with you at the beginning of each year as we report on the results from the previous year of the number of hours. So these are the averages. If you really want the numbers on it, for the 2015-16 HSA graduates received 540 academic dual credit hours, and then collectively 781 workforce credit hours. And then in 2016-17, last school year, the graduates received 805 academic dual credit hours and 1,235 workforce credit hours. If you do the math on that, knowing that, again, the HSA model to date is that donations have paid for their tuition to those workforce credits and the tuition towards their academic credits. The only exception is for the textbooks for their academic, the ones who choose, and most do. And if you do the math with those numbers that I just gave you times the credit hours over the past few years, around $38, $40 per credit hour, 42, it's 46 presently, but when we started it was in the 30s. So that multiplies to a lot of money that saved our families and these students. One note is that in 2016-17, we had our first HSA student to graduate from Plano ISD, receiving both her high school diploma as well as her Collin College Associate of Arts and Science degrees in health professions. And we look forward to more of doing that. She took it on herself, obviously, to take the additional math and science that she couldn't take at that time. So we're excited about those additions coming forward so that students truly may be able to do that even easier in the future.
So when we started this, that's the vision I wanted. I wanted to have the kids graduating at 18 with both.
Absolutely. In your handouts, I believe.
One quick question.
Sure.
Did that require summer work for her?
She did either summer or night
Okay.
work. I don't know if y'all know specifically how she did. Yeah, she did a little bit of both to make that happen. In your handouts, I think are also, I included the Health Profession Association degrees that all of the HSA programs are aligned with. And then I'd close in saying I want to point out that there are actually several BAAS degrees now. That's the Bachelor of Applied Arts and Sciences, where our HSA students, academic and their workforce credits, will currently transfer. And there's programs at TWU, UNT, and Texas A&M Commerce, where they can transfer not only their academics but their workforce credits, and that's new, and I know that's in the works. They can speak more to that if y'all have questions about it, but that's something that's ongoing, and I think there's even a BAAT that's in the works. I don't know too much, but certainly Dr. Keel and Mr. Martinez can answer any other questions about that.
We offer clinicals at the other senior highs as well.
Absolutely.
What's the hope or forecast for possibly, I mean, they get certifications.
Right.
Is there a possibility that they can get, I know the whole program has to be at HSA,
Right.
but can our students at Plano and Plano West have an opportunity to get any dual credit through their
It's a great
clinicals?
question, and I think it could certainly be looked at and researched. Right now, that's what's unique about the HSA, is that it has the dual credit, as well as the fact that it's the donors and this tuition is paid for. So it's certainly, a possibility to look at which ones can be bridged, articulated, like Lisa was talking about, and certainly some of our faculty, I'm sure, could be embedded, but it would be certainly something they could look at and see if it's possible. Some of the equity issues, like I'm talking about, would come into play. Any other questions on Health Sciences Academy? All right, then I'm going to turn it over to Amy Bates to talk about the Future Industries Academy.
Good evening. So we have additional workforce credit opportunities for our students coming up in 2020-2021 school year at the Future Industries Academy. And actually, we should probably begin to shift our minds into thinking Future Industries Academy at the Collin Technical Campus as we continue to explore these opportunities. So we've got a variety of programs that have been identified, and the really remarkable thing is that Collin and Plano ISD came about this research in two different ways. We looked at, of course, the guiding principles set forth by the board about exploring new academy programs, and then seated a visioning committee to take a look at the data that's been brought forth by Interlink, along with some other data around employability skills in our area. And we came up with a series of strands for our students to study in these workforce programs. Colin went about their research in an entirely different way, and yet we came back with the same sets of strands for our workforce students. So at this point, we've identified the programs that are likely to be offered at the Collin Technical Campus. We've communicated that information to our 8th graders through their 4-year planning process, and we're in the process of developing crosswalks from our courses that are TEA approved to the courses that will be offered at the Collin Technical Campus. And Collin College is doing their work on the other side of the equation, identifying those courses that they're going to offer as well. And at this point, I'd like to bring Dr. Keel to share the progress that is being made at Collin College.
Well, Amy, thank you for having us today. It's been an interesting discussion and dialogue from the Collin College side, thinking of some of the things that we need to do to make sure that our students that are taking advantage of the dual credit get their credits in transfer. Our advisors have to deal with it all the time when students come to Collin and aren't sure what to take, start taking classes, and then plan on the back end. So it's great that you have counselors on staff in your high schools that are doing that much earlier. So just kind of an update of where we are with the Collin College Technical Campus. It is a very exciting program because this is the first time Collin has a campus specifically dedicated to career and technical education. So all the programs here are going to be workforce, but there will be some academic courses in support of them so a student can complete their entire Associate of Applied Science degree. There are 5 academic courses that are in all of our associate degrees, including the applied science degrees, which all of these technical programs are. So when we were looking for a location, we wanted these technical classes, as you know, are very expensive. They require a lot of facilities. They require a lot of equipment. So there's only going to be one of a lot of these programs throughout the county. So we wanted to find a very convenient location. So looking at the population as well as a lot of interest in offering these programs dual credit, so very close access to all of our schools as well. So the location that Collin College selected is at the southeast corner of 121 and Exchange Parkway. So it's in between Custer and Alma on the south side of 121. We looked at this site as that's where the population density is within the county, but also if you look at distance, there are 15 high schools within a 15-minute drive to this location. That's with good traffic. When you map it at 10 o'clock in the morning, not during. So it's a very good location for a lot of students in multiple ISDs. We have been working feverishly on planning this campus. The City of Allen gave us a stamp of approval for our site plan last week, so we are moving forward. Basically, the concept is we're going to have 4 separate buildings. 3 of them are going to be kind of high bay lab spaces for our major programs, automotive, construction, automotive and construction, and the construction actually has 2 different bays, one in the more construction trades, and a separate lab has HVAC and welding in it. In addition, there's a 4th building that is where all of our student services are. So one good benefit of having students come to the Collin Technical Campus is that this is a full service campus. There's tutoring, there's a library, there's advising, there's counseling, all at this site. So the students, if they need to go see an advisor, a college advisor, they're gonna be down the hall. Or if they need to do their testing or go do some research in the library. So that's a great additional benefit to the students that take classes here. Our site design is pretty much done. It's going to be a very high-tech contemporary looking building. We have a lot of collaboration spaces, as well as trying to find a way to intersect that academic and workforce students within the building. A lot of visuals so they can, students and passersby can see what's going on in those labs, and hopefully attracting more interest in pursuing these careers. Overall, we do expect to accommodate about 5,000 students at this campus. However, we know there's a lot of demand for these programs, and we are planning to outgrow, hopefully in maybe 10 to 15 years. But when we designed the campus, we put the buildings very, very close together, so we have more space to expand in the future. We also added, because of the topography of the land, we were able to put parking underground. So the three lab buildings are built on top of a one-story parking garage. That gave us enough space that we can add about a 60 to 80,000 square foot additional lab in the future. And that's part of our plan. Also, as designing this building, we wanted flexibility because we know industries change, needs change, demands change, so that the labs are going to be able to accommodate the possibility of adding, modifying, possibly eliminating if needed, if our industries change within the area. So we are on track to open this building early summer so that we can get all the training done for our faculty to understand how to use the equipment and get moved in and being able to enroll in your future Industries Academy students in the fall of 2020. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Very exciting times, and we've been working feverishly trying to, because some of these programs are brand new for Collins, so we've been creating a lot of industry advisory committees and think tanks to get their input on what should we be teaching in these programs. We've completed construction management already, automotive technology, we're very, very close, but to having the curriculum finalized, but having a lot of great dialogue among industry leaders. And we've also invited Amy and David have attended several of them. So we do want the school districts also to be involved in this process.
I do have a question. Are the students going to be there all day, or is it a half-day program, or how does it work?
I'll let Amy go into that, but we're planning it's a half day, either morning or afternoon. There's a lot of lab time in these programs, so it does have to be kind of a chunk of time.
Have you thought about how you're going to attract young women to these programs? They're not traditional fields for young women, but they can be quite lucrative.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of different recruiting tools that we're trying to incorporate now. Colin has recently hired 5 what we're calling program career coaches, and these individuals are going out into schools as well as getting involved with some of our industry associations to start making those connections. We do have a female engineering professor who has started a Women in Engineering association, a student association at Collin. So that has really attracted a lot of women. But part of some of our measures that we are required to abide by for the state is to attract non-traditional students into programs, and not only women in automotive, but men in the nursing program. They are targets that we need to meet for our state accountability measures. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you for hanging with us. I know it's a late evening.
It is. So am I thinking correctly? It's 360,000 square foot building.
Construction costs about 340,000, but we're stuck at 340.
That's so an amazing building filled with state-of-the-art machinery and opportunities for our students, and we're thrilled to have the opportunity to offer those things at their campus. And that brings a point that there are many things still to be determined, including transportation and scheduling for our students. So you heard Dr. Keel mention that there are several strands that they're working on towards that building. At this stage, we know that we're going to offer 3 of those strands to our students and consider the additional strands so that we don't offer programs that are redundant to those that already exist within the district. So specifically, we're going to be offering architecture and construction, engineering technology and manufacturing, and information technology. So within that architecture and construction, you'll see that the students will have the opportunity to take courses that are aligned to the following. And as industry certifications, they will be able to leave the program with SolidWorks or OSHA, EPA 608 Universal, which is an HVAC certification, and 6G Shielded Metal Arc Welding certification. So there are some instantly employable opportunities for our kids upon graduation. In the technical campus programs for engineering technology, the students are going to be able to have the following experiences and a variety of courses that lead towards that industrial automation technology. So I've learned all kinds of interesting things about programmable logic controls that I never thought I would know. If we take a closer look at the cybersecurity pathway, within your packet, I provided a sample for-year plan, and I couldn't agree more that in helping our kids envision themselves in these career paths and in this non-traditional campus, we're going to have to help them see how they can earn dual credit at their home campus along with workforce dual credit at the Collin Technical campus. So that sample degree plan gives you an idea of how those opportunities can feed in and then work as a student's elective course credit. And still to be determined is how to get them there and get them home in a timely manner, and how to support students who may or may not have their own vehicle to be able to control that transportation. So all of those things are details that we will work out within the next 2 years before this facility opens in 2020. So a student who follows that degree plan would be able to leave us with about 45 credits towards their 60 credit associate's degree. And those associate's degrees, our students of course will have 2 transcripts, one that's a Plano ISD transcript and then one that is a Collin College transcript. Workforce dual credit is not typically transferable, but as David alluded to before, there are programs that are called Bachelor of Applied Arts and Science programs, where the entirety of that associate's degree will then feed into a bachelor's degree program. So do you have any other questions about the Future Industries Academy?
Well, it looks like we're going to have a lot more dual credit offerings. And I think that's exactly what we asked for.
That's right, absolutely.
And providing, ways for students to see themselves, connecting with the thing that interests them and the way they like to learn. I think this is just more in that vein.
A technical question: if a student is getting the two transcripts, the one from Collin College, will that go towards their Collin College, like those grades will apply to what they do if they finish their associate's degree at Collin? But if they were to go to another university, that would just count as credit. It wouldn't count as the grades wouldn't be applied. Yes, no, don't know.
It depends on the institution, but for
Okay.
the most part, when they're dual credit, they just give them the credit. They don't factor in that GPA.
Okay.
We get some universities that get creative with that, so it varies.
Okay.
So as exciting as the transferability of all this is, I think what really excites me is the fact that 18, 19-year-old kids can get out of high school / a year of college and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And put themselves into the workforce and really have a future. And so if you want to figure out how to recruit these kids, tell them how much money they can make as a welder.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is policies. And at most of our regular meetings, we have policies on the agenda for the board's consideration. These policies have undergone prior review by the district's attorney and by each board member. I invite Carla Oliver to introduce the policies we have on the agenda this evening. Ms. Oliver?
Thank you, President Bender. First, I'll bring to you TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 109. It affects local policies and it's presented for adoption under second reading this evening. Updated legal policies, exhibits, and regulations were included in the packet for your review. And the administration this evening requests approval of Update 109 with the exception of policy FFI, which would be pulled for continued review.
All right, thank you very much. Board members, a suggested motion is provided in your materials. If you would take into consideration information that Ms. Oliver has shared, and if anyone would like to entertain a motion, I'll do that now.
I'll do that. I move that the board add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 109 with revisions and exceptions as noted to the following policies. CDA Local, which is Other Revenues and Investments. CO Local, which is Food Services Management. DH Local, which is Employee Standards of Conduct. DEH Local, which is Employee Standards of Conduct and Searches and Alcohol and/or Drug Testing.
DAG.
DAG. What did I say? I apologize. I'm dyslexic, I think. EHBAF Local, which is Special Education, Video and Audio Monitoring. FFA Local, which is Wellness and Health Services, Physical Examinations.
FFAA.
Oh boy, I can't read, can I? FFAA Local, pardon me. And then that was Wellness and Health Services, Physical Examinations. And then GKA Local, Community Relations, Conduct of School Premises, additional revisions noted in red font. The following exhibits were revised with the update. Exhibits are reviewed but not adopted by the board. EHBAF exhibit, which is Special Education, Video and Audio Monitoring. And the district will maintain the following legal policy recommendation for the deletion of Update 109. FNCH Legal, which is Student Conduct and / Assaults.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Now we will consider Policy Update 110, affecting local policies, second reading. Do I have a motion to adopt on second reading?
I move that the board add, revise, or delete local policies as recommended by TASB Policy Service and according to the instruction sheet for TASB Localized Policy Manual Update 110 with revisions as noted to Policy BBB Local Board Members Elections.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item 13 is the conclusion of the public comment session on non-agenda topics. I now convene the 15-minute public comment session on non-agenda topics. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes, and Ms. Humphrey will indicate when there is 1 minute remaining. Ms. Oliver, do we have any comment cards now for non-agenda items?
We do, and I understand that some students have rejoined our audience, and so I would call upon Zachary Desai.
We're going to go right over here. Sorry.
Sorry,
that's not
yes, here at
specific.
this podium and the microphone is on top. Mr. Desai, when you get to after 2 minutes, I will let you know you have 1 minute remaining. So don't like rush, you still have another minute, but I'm going to give you that notice.
Do I start?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I've been in Plano ISD since preschool, and I'm now a senior. And I'm here to tell you that class rank and GPA are some of Plano ISD's worst student culture problems that the district's high schools have. For those of you who have read or watched the Hunger Games, visualize the games for a second. The starving contestants all desperately trying to fight for their lives. This is essentially an exaggeration of the atmosphere at my high schools, Jasper High School, believe me or not. Now, don't get me wrong, competition is good and pushes our nation to achieve excellence. However, everything is only good in moderation. The rank system in PISD's competitive high schools puts so much pressure on students to the point where they excessively stress, study, hardly sleep, load up on a bunch of stressful AP classes, they don't take regular classes, that interest them, relate to their major or career, or get them to think outside the classroom, and even cheat to gain an edge. If you've heard about students caught for cheating or stealing tests last semester, trust me, it's everywhere. Sharing answers using phones during tests, copying, plagiarizing. So we have a problem, but you might ask, how is the proposed ranking GPA solution any better? To that, I say sometimes less is more. Knowing less about your exact class rank is more beneficial to the students and the universities they apply to. Students knowing less about their rank eases off some competitive pressure, as they are not pressured to pass certain people, only working towards their own GPA. And colleges not knowing their exact rank comes especially in handy for Plano ISD, because if class rank is reported, students here look worse due to all the competition, whereas if class rank is not reported, universities re-rank students with other unranked students from other districts themselves. So let me ask you this. If a police officer pulls you over and says you were speeding, are you going to ask if they notice the beer in your cup holder too? Telling too much unnecessary information like class rank is just hurting the students. Now, my favorite benefit of the proposed solution is the creation of the ranking GPA. Since it only factors in core classes, students will be able to choose the electives most relevant to them without having to worry about their rank falling. All right, so whoever's voting in June, you have two choices. You can do what most people would do, maybe ignore the issue, say you need more information, or you can stand up for Plano ISD's core value, the students, and listen to me and my peers. I believe my friend spoke earlier tonight, and Plano ISD recently did a survey of other students, and if you truly care about your students, listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker would be Harrison Chu.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Harrison. I'm an immigrant from Hong Kong who has moved to Plano last year. I've heard of America's exceptional education, was coming to Plano for a better shot on the future. However, throughout these 2 years, I have received unfair treatment that has repeatedly hindered me in pursuing the future I desired. One issue is the GPA and the class rank system, coming from the conversion of my grades from Hong Kong. I have previously submitted government documents from around the world proving how grades from Hong Kong to the United States can be interpreted by other countries. Unfortunately, my request fell on deaf ears as the head counselor declared of not helping me to review the documents. The GPA and class rank has hindered me on numerous aspects. I've been rejected from 9 colleges due to my GPA, including University of Texas at Austin, Texas A&M University, and Baylor University, in which my ACT scores has far surpassed the 75th percentile of their admission requirements. I'm not the only one who's a victim of the credit transfer. Throughout these years, I've talked to multiple people facing the same situation I did. Many past and current students have suffered or suffering that the low GPA they received first prevented them from receiving scholarships from institutions and outside organizations. Therefore, on behalf of these students, I sincerely hope that you can help us to fix the GPA and class ranks when we have evidence from the government proving a scale of the conversion of international grades. Another unfair treatment is the counselor not placing me in AP courses. Although I had studied AP biology last year, I was able to have the AP course because I insisted the continuation of study of biology when the counselor made my schedule. However, I was placed in regular courses in all other core courses. And such suffering faced by transfer students would drastically affect their college applications as well as their ability to apply for scholarships. When I confronted the head counselor about why I had not been placed in AP courses,
1 minute.
she replied that she had done that on purpose because they were afraid that transfer students were not able to catch up the pacing of the AP course. Therefore, I hope that transfer students can have a second chance of getting like the credit through credit by examination or the AP exams as according to the PISD website. And I also found that the problem that causes this is the non-standardized curriculum in Plano, resulting in non-stimulating learning environment provided by non-AP courses. The regular courses only provide recognition tests, which no application of learned knowledge is needed. and students were given the entire test and answers the day before and asked to study on that for the test for the following day in certain regular courses. The link of the test can be sent to everyone via Google Classroom, and that will cause serious the lack of motivation and also brain deterioration due to this use. And therefore, I also propose on recommending a standardized curriculum that can boost students' ability, academic ability. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just in case, I'll go ahead and call the other names in case they joined us as well. Jean Zhang.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Jean. I have been a long time Plano resident, and I've talked to most of the board trustees by pleasure. I actually, 1 year ago, we came here and we talked about the ranking system proposal. And at the time, we had some feedback, and I'm glad the board trustee had been listening to us, and the committee went back 1 year later after a lot of research, and they came up with this proposal. I would take this opportunity to applaud and appreciate the effort you put it in there. It really comes for a good intention to reduce the student stress. And after 1 year, this is really a much improved version of the proposal. I would add a few feedback or with intention really to make this to work for longer term and to make this PISD a better district. So first of all, I would recommend to add the baseline visibility to the 9th and 10th grader, which is the minimum GPA of the last students in the top 10%. Well, I know the argument is saying people don't want to see it because when they see it, it adds stress. But the reality is that ranking, there's also arguments that that GPA is not complete. The reality is adding this number to 9th and 10th grader transcripts is giving people a chance to set up some goal for them to work towards. If I am close to the 10%, I know where I can work towards, right? And also it's avoiding, kids just shooting in darkness. Remember a year ago in the survey, more than 50%, 70% the student and parent and teacher group are mentioning ranking still remains number one goal to motivating for students to work harder. The second suggestion, I am suggesting the ranking GPA is based on the core course, and the matrix need to be reasonably considered. It needs to be big enough to encourage students to challenge, and it also has to be big enough so it avoids a lot of ties in the ranking. The number search suggestion is to reduce the complexity of the dual GPA. So there is some confusion that some of the students above the baseline GPA cumulative, based on the cumulative, but they are still below the 10% in the ranking GPA. So that is confusing. People are going to chase after a game that they have to look at which to track. And also, it was mentioned, it may be complicated enough. People have to, the PISD have to set up an app for people to choose the class. That is really too much. Okay, so thank you. I really hope a healthy system to prepare our kids for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If in attendance, Yao Ding Ying would be our last speaker.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Bouncer. So good news, I'm the last speaker. I'd like to speak about the proposed GPA reform. First of all, let me be clear. I do not oppose the new policy of ranking only the top 10%. What I do oppose is the dual GPA system because it won't work as intended. And let me explain why. The very purpose of introducing ranking GPA is to make it higher than cumulative GPA so that hopefully students who aspire to be in the top 10% will choose more lower weight electives. Now imagine your child is one of those who are going to grapple with the 2 GPAs. What shows up on her transcript is cumulative GPA, but ranking GPA determines her rank. Dr. Kettler used a batting analogy to illustrate how ranking GPA would work. And that analogy was actually a perfect example of how ranking GPA will make course selection even more agonizing than it's already been. Because now students will have to consider 2 GPAs, how those 2 GPAs might affect their college application, and how other students might do under the 2 GPAs. That's a lot of uncertainties to deal with. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel laureate, the world's most respected expert on the psychology of decision making, tells us that people will try to avoid uncertainty and instead choose a safer and a proven path, which in this case is to focusing on cumulative GPA. As a result, the proposed dual GPA system does not meet the first 2 guiding principles laid out by the board, which are, first, look for ways to reduce gamesmanship of class selection and GPA. Second, support fine arts, sports, etc., or at least minimize penalty of participation in those. The dual GPA system will not change how students choose courses, let alone reduce gamesmanship. Finally, I'd like to point out that
1 minute.
it is wrong to assume those who are challenging the dual GPAs are against the removal of ranking and are exclusively parents of high-performing students. This is not a debate on whether the dual GPAs will hurt the top 10% and benefit the rest. This is a debate on whether the dual GPAs will work for all students. I'm speaking against the dual GPAs, to challenge the board to not take a policy recommendation at its face value. Instead, to think deeper, to ask thoughtful questions, and to make an informed decision. You are entrusted by your constituents to make the best decisions for their kids. I urge you to uphold that trust. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the public comment section. And with no further business, this meeting of the Board of Trustees is adjourned at 9:58 p.m.